Thank you all for being here. It is amazing. We're about to start another term, another year. And one of the very nice things about it is getting a chance to say hello to people you may not have seen for a little bit. So welcome back, our faculty, our HEOs, our staff. Many of the HEOs and staff obviously are still working on registration, so they won't obviously be here today. This tradition, though, of kind of convening the faculty and the community at large is really a chance to, as we say, look both ways. And we've done so many good things last year, and we have so many exciting things to do this coming year. So I welcome this opportunity to say hello to you. Many of you I've seen over the summer, and I hope some of you had a chance to get away and do something good for yourselves. It's a long year, and you work very hard, so thank you for that. So we have really many important qualities. One of the new faculty yesterday said to me, "What's changed over the years?" because he heard that I'd been here a while. And I said, it's interesting because two things haven't changed. Almost everything has changed, but two things haven't. And one of it is the incredible faculty. From the day this institution opened, there was and is a strong faculty, an engaged faculty. Governance was important. Academic credentials were important. Their work with students was important. And the other thing that hasn't changed are the incredible rigor and quality of our academic programs. We're known for that all over the country and possibly all over the world from some of the presentations that have been made by our faculty and even our students about Queensborough. So I kind of recap each year. There are three things that I think are very important. They've really governed in many ways the way I have seen my career at Queensborough over these many years, and that is to really support a strong and engaged faculty and to grow it, and to really help make this a student-centered learning environment. And together, I think we do that here better than almost any other place. And of course, we're a community college, so we have partners in the community, growing partnerships that are very important. And I think they have been big boosters of our great institution. They've offered opportunities for our students. They've offered support in every way, political support, financial support, et cetera. But we do serve our community in many ways through continuing education, through our wonderful cultural resources of the Kupferberg Holocaust Center and the Art Gallery and the Professional Performing Arts Series. And of course, all of the things that we do with our high schools. We'll have almost 2,000 students from high schools in various collaborative programs taking our courses this fall. It's wonderful because it really is a pipeline. Once you meet Queensborough and meet Queensborough's faculty and staff, you tend to stay. So we're very grateful for that. So in these efforts, I hope, we all work together, and it's not done by one person, it's done by all of us together. I just want to mention a few names because they are senior leaders of this institution, both in the administration and the faculty. Sherry Newcomb is our Chief Operating Officer and Senior Vice President. She works with Mark Carpentier. He's the guy with the budget. You probably all know him. Tim Lynch, our Vice President for Academic Affairs, from whom you will hear in a few minutes. And we're extremely fortunate to have him. He joined us in April. It's been wonderful for us as colleagues, and I'm sure as you get to know him, you will see that as well. Michelle Hodge is our Vice President for Student Affairs, and he works with Brian Kerr and Laura Bruno, Ronnie Lucas, and they do an incredible job to supplement all the work of our faculty in classrooms with co-curricular support and with services. As you can imagine, we have an array of them. Rosemary Zins, our Vice President for Advancement, and we work very hard to secure support outside. Just this year alone, we received, with matching money, over $7 million in capital pledges from Borough President, from the City Council Chair herself, from the City Council delegation, and from 10 individual council members. And they do that because they know us and they believe in us, and it helps us because we have much to do in terms of our capital projects here. So that's Rosemary's shtick. She does a lot of work there. Bill Faulkner leads our financial group with David Wasserman, and we've had, I shouldn't jinx anything, but very clean audits for a number of years, audits by everyone, including the Inspector General. And I think that everybody's worked very hard to demonstrate what we know, which is we're very sound fiscally and we're very prudent in what we do. Liza Lario is the Dean of Labor Relations. Many of you know her. She's a great support to faculty and helping them get oriented to the college and working out anything in terms of the HR side of the house. Denise Ward works with, she's our Vice President for Pre-Collegiate, Continuing Education and Workforce Development. This has really grown. It was never a big area for Queensborough. Denise has taken it miles. You know, she's, besides being an MBA and a former faculty member, she is just incredible in her ingenuity, and especially with grants. Grants reports to her section now, and she works with Jeff Chen. If you've ever had a chance to meet him, he does all the grants and contracts that we have. It's very, very impressive what they've accomplished. Stima DiDio is our Vice President for Communication and Marketing. This is huge because the whole world relies now on alternate methods for communication. And they've done great work. His team, amazing team across all kinds of platforms for communication. It's breathtaking, the changes that occur almost on a daily basis, and I'm very proud of that team because they are really energetic and smart. We also have Belinda Delgado, who is our Title IX coordinator. Mary Jane Shaw retired this past year, but we were very fortunate to get Belinda. Is she here? Just Belinda, there you are, okay. Belinda happens to be an attorney. She has worked for the New York City Fire Department, the New York City Police Department, and she's done a great deal of work in community outreach. And for her, Title IX is really education and awareness and support. And so I hope you get to meet her in social ways, but she's always available if you have questions or your students have questions about Title IX. And of course, we have our den mother, Jo Pantaleo, who really is amazing. She is our compliance officer for all the incredible regulations that we're obliged to follow. She does it in such an incredibly human way, and she has reached people and accomplished things in a way that, and she always affords people respect, and I think that's what makes her so successful. So anyone involved with a search, and you will be involved with searches, we have 22 of them they're about to launch for faculty alone. So I know that you'll rely on her, and she'll be very happy to give you support there. So we also have, of course, our department chair people. They are senior leaders of this institution. They work morning, noon, and night. They are incredible, and they're your representatives. You've chosen them. And I thank them for what they do every day and every night, all through the night in some cases. This year, we have two new chair people, Maria Mercedes Franco from mathematics and computer science, I should get the name complete, and of course, Hamid Namdar, who's our new chair of engineering technology. And that's because Stu Asser, who's still here, and Joe Bertarelli are on phased retirement. So thank you to Stu and Joe, and welcome to Mercedes and to Hami, and I know you'll all give them also that support. We have governance bodies that, again, are important as our leadership at Queensborough. Our Faculty Executive Committee, Phil Pecorino, Edmund Klingon, Margot Edlin, Marvin Gale, Cheryl Spencer, Ted Rosen, and Alicia Sinclair. And I will give them a shout out because their meeting, their fall meeting, is Wednesday, October 25th, in this room at the club hours. It's really important to get involved, and I hope you'll join them at that, and I hope you'll be engaged in all the activities sponsored by all of our governance groups. Our Academic Senate Steering Committee, Joel Kuzai is now the chair of the steering committee. Dr. Emily Tai is the vice chair, and John Talbert is our secretary, and Jeff Schwartz, of course, is the technology officer. The Senate meets in this room the second Tuesday of every month at 3:10. It is a very important body representing faculty and students and administrators, and even alums, HEOs, adjuncts. So if you can, the first meeting is Tuesday, September 12th, 3:10 in this room. It's, everyone is welcome to all of these meetings, and I hope you'll think about joining. And of course, we have the PSC chapter, and their officers this year, Edmund Klingen, Lana Zinger, Mike Cesarano, let me make sure, Julian Stark, George Machida, and we have at-large members, Phil Pecorino, Clara Weingart, Susan Jacobowitz, and Charles Newman. And the first of their 2 semester meetings is Wednesday, September 27th at noon in Oakland. Am I right? Okay. And that is a great opportunity to hear more about the PSC and what they can offer. Did I just hit? I probably hit something by mistake. Sorry about that. Now, we're all here because of students, and we're very happy that some students are here with us today. Our student government over the last number of years has been extraordinary, and it's not easy because we really kind of discover them in their first year, and then they become officers, and then they graduate, which is wonderful. But we've been very blessed because our student activities staff and everyone in student affairs really works with faculty to identify students who could be leaders and to work with them to make them effective leaders. So I'm very happy. I'm just going to have them all stand. I'm just going to say their first names, okay? Because you're going to see them at the Senate. You'll see them at almost every event that we have where we're in discussion about our future at Queensborough. So we have, some of them are in class, so I'm going to have everybody. Janice and Sybil, Michael, Maria, Justin, David, and Nazia. Have a great term. We're also saying goodbye to several faculty who've retired this year officially. They are officially, as of this moment, retirees, and we wish them well. Rob Becker in the English department, Nathan Chow in ET, Mona Fabricant in math, Jonas Fallick in business, and Ken Golden in art and design. I want to give a special note of farewell to Karen Steele, who retired this summer after 33 years of service. Glenn Birdie, who retired, he was in our business department and was also dean for academic operations. He retired. And today is the last day officially for Ann Tullio, our registrar. After 26 years and incredible service, we say goodbye to her as well. And I'm sure you'll have a chance to wave and wish all of them well on email or in person. So we can really celebrate a number of accomplishments this year. There are many. I'm just going to hit a few highlights. Over 2,600 students graduated this year with a degree over the course of the year. That would be January, June, and August. That's really wonderful. It's our largest number. It's very important. It's a tribute. It's a tribute to all the work that the faculty have done in classrooms and all the work that our great support staff have done to encourage them to finish and go on, and that they do. They do go on. They go to many places. Queens, Baruch, York, Hunter are probably the biggest group. But what we get concerned about is as many people leave as graduate, and we really want them to stay and finish a degree because they get many more opportunities for scholarships when they have a full degree from Queensborough. So help us as faculty, please help us encourage students to stay here, get a degree. Our students are highly recruited, and they are given great opportunities at senior colleges when it says the Queensborough graduate degree. So please do. We've done a lot of work to encourage graduation, including reverse transfer. We look at students who left us with 50, 55 credits, and usually it's a Queens college, it's the easiest, and we see if they've taken things at that college that would be appropriate to be applied to their degree here. That takes a lot of work and outreach, but we've graduated another 100 students, even though they're finishing up their baccalaureates, but they were only 1 or 2 courses short, and we thought we'd invite them to apply to have our degree, and that's been a great opportunity. Let me see. It's very interesting. Our fall applications were up. what was particularly interesting was the students in the application who chose Queensborough first, they get to pick 6 colleges in CUNY. But the percentage of students who pick us first was up 16%. That really speaks to, I think, a growing reputation. We all know it, but it's getting out there more and more that this is the place to be for a very strong education and incredible support. I have to say that our students, you know, we're proud of them. I think each and every one in this room has worked with students and has felt really very good about it. So I'm just going to mention a couple because some of you in this room have really helped to make this possible. Tao Hong, you've seen him on our bus ads everywhere. So Tao graduated in this past graduation, and he is amazing. He was mentored by faculty in math and faculty in chemistry. When he started here, he didn't speak any English at all. He went through CLIP, and then he went through our program. And he is now at Cornell studying chemical engineering. He was also accepted to UCLA, but he had his heart set on Cornell. And we can be very proud of that because of all the people who touched his lives, and I'm sure he touched yours as well. He also won tremendous scholarships, the Jack Kent Cooke, the Barry Goldwater, which is the highest science scholarship in the country, and of course Phi Theta Kappa, which is a great organization here. You know, Dr. Emily Tai and Dr. Paris Fornos work so hard with students, and we have a huge cadre of students who are academically extraordinary, and it's a great launching pad for many of these students to go on and get scholarships. So I thank them for that. Let me see. We also have Sophia Worrell. Sophia also is a graduate, and she's not a young person. She has adult children who flew up from the South for graduation. Sylvia won first place in the CUNY Capital One competition for business plans. You know, Chris Mooney and all the staff in business really do a great job. Sophia won for her project for children's literacy. Very interesting. And the third year they've had the competition is the third year Queensborough students have come in first. We usually come in first, second, and third. And that's, again, a tribute, I think, to our students and our faculty who mentor them. Harris is kind of like the village. It took the village. And Harris graduated in 18 months. 18 months. And he is now going to City. He was accepted at the Colin Powell Institute. He's there on scholarship, full scholarship at CCNY. He's in the Scout and ARPS program. You know, he had an incredibly difficult year this past year, and he didn't let anything deter him. And I think he was boosted by the fact that his faculty knew him, stood by him, and encouraged him. And we're really very proud of him. He's a great young man, as so many of our students obviously are. Just this morning, we heard from Yuli. Yuli graduated a couple of years ago. You may remember her name. She was an ASAP student. She graduated, went on, she's at Stony Brook. Yuli already has 2 peer-reviewed papers published, and that's kind of amazing. She's studying in biochem, and I said to our bio faculty, maybe Stony Brook is Queensborough East. We have so many students going there. It's really kind of special. We also had Udya. Udya was studying with our biology faculty. She presented her paper in Qatar. Can you imagine? At an international conference for research, the only community college person there. And again, she, by the way, is at Stanford. She was also accepted to MIT, but she wanted Stanford. I say this because, and not every person in your classes will end up at Stanford or Cornell or Stony Brook, but you found something in them and helped them find something in themselves. And this is the outcome. There's so many more, but I won't bore you with so many more. You know them, you could tell me better. You see them every day. So, and I'm gonna move on because time is short. We have done great work in curriculum. We have a new degree program in public health. And we have a dual joint program with York in public health, almost ready to go. York's academic senate isn't as good as our academic senate. It's somewhere over there in a committee. Joel, maybe you could call your counterpart. And we expect to have that wrapped up this year and forwarded. The bio department's also in conversation with Brooklyn College for a dual joint degree program in public health. Our speech and theater department is working with Brooklyn College in a dual joint in media studies. So we have many things to look forward to. We have 10 dual joint degree programs. I'm sure we'll have more in the next year or so. Obviously, we'd love to see something happen with a SUNY school and with a private school. We're going to sign, we have a ceremony at St. John's coming up. Kathy Villani, the business department, has a program in accounting with them. And so I think that's nice. Maybe we could do that. Maybe we could get tickets to the basketball game as well. We'll see. But it's good. We've done a lot of good work among faculty. You know, these national certifications, we talk about them and people kind of say, oh, that's nice. It's more than nice. It's probably 5 years of work on the part of our faculty and departments to earn a national certification, particularly in the arts. And we have, as you know, theater was last year. We got word that art has its certification this year. The dance department faculty did their work, and we're awaiting the decision for their commission. And the music department has spent the last 2 years completely restructuring curriculum because they're going for their certification. We've always been known for, I guess, everything. We're gen ed based, we have great sciences, we have amazing social sciences and humanities. We have sciences, but the four arts, it's kind of overlooked and people don't think of it in the same way. What the faculty in those departments have done is to put us on par with national school, organizations and schools. And our students have gotten scholarships because, again, of their experiences here. And every time their consultants or their representatives from their commissions come here, whether it's nursing or business or ABET, in this case, the commissions for the different art groups, performing art groups, they're always amazed. They're stunned by the faculty qualifications. They're stunned by the campus. They're stunned particularly by students. And so I think we should be very proud of that. It's been quite amazing. And of course, what else we have? Our ET department. They partnered with Memorial Sloan Kettering. We actually have a student there doing some research this year. He graduated, but he's still doing research with them. As you know, we have amazing 3D printing equipment, one of only 7, one particular machine, one of only 7 in the country. And they've been working with Memorial Sloan Kettering to translate, is it CAT scans and MRIs of tumors, and creating models so that they're used in surgery, very detailed models. I was going to bring one, but it's breakfast time, probably not. If you want to see them, Michael Lawrence and all the folks in ET, you should go over and see it. It's quite fascinating. And what's wonderful is our students are involved. They're involved in that creation. They're involved in the research. So the activities is extraordinary throughout this campus. Of course, our food bank is celebrating its first anniversary. And I want to thank, I'm not going to name them all because there's so many faculty that work so hard on this. But you'll be hearing more about it. If school starts, we're going to reach out to you again. And I hope you can all support it. Great sales. The circulars were out yesterday, so check them. Bring in some stuff. Check all your hotel supplies, all those shampoos and conditioners. Bring them in. No, really, people, that's helpful to people. We've done that, and it's been surprising. We don't know people's circumstances, and in small ways that we can help and allow people dignity, because we have a nice, discreet place for this, that's wonderful. So I thank you, and I thank all of the faculty who worked on that. We've done great work in grants. Over $6.5 million worth of funding have been awarded to our faculty in our institution. The PSC CUNY, I was so pleased about that. We had the highest number of faculty who were awarded. We got the highest amount of money. Not that that matters, but it is great. The energy. 56, I think 56 faculty got PSC CUNY awards. There were 4 others because a few didn't get funded. But we decided, Tim Lynch said, they're great projects. So we funded them ourselves, 4 projects, and I'm sure you'll hear about them a little bit in the year. The Office of Marketing Communication is launching a very interesting initiative. We're going to feature our faculty and obviously our students as well, but if you have some of you are too modest to kind of bring yourselves to our attention. But everybody, if you have a colleague that you want us to kind of feature, showcase, please let Vice President DiDio know and his staff know, because we're going to translate that into something where it's more widely known. We're very proud of what's going on. Of course, we have campus improvement projects. You may have noticed. Our newest building is 39 years old. We work very, very hard to kind of keep things up to date. And it's a tribute to many, many people on this campus that it's relatively in good shape, and we have lots of things going on. We've accomplished a lot. It's an important investment. I think it demonstrates respect for the people who work, who teach, who learn here, who visit here. So it is important. We redid all the walkways to and from the campus areas. We added lighting. We have expanded ASAP. We have expanded the Writing Center, College Discovery, the Veteran Center, and the Student Union. We've created spaces in humanities. We've gained, 2 computer labs and a classroom from reorganizing space. By the way, this part was all done by our folks here on campus. We've renovated many labs in your individual departments, certainly. We have the ongoing water fountain replacement projects. Been on, I guess the last 2 years we've been at that, and we're going to continue. We have renovated the administration lobby. That was actually a legislative grant. I won't mention the legislator's name because I shouldn't, but Toby was really great to us. And that's taken all summer. That's not easy to renovate a floor when everybody's walking on it, so that's been kind of crazy. We've upgraded the digital signage throughout the campus. I think importantly, we've upgraded the security. All of the CCTV, we now have, let me get this right, 285 different cameras inside and outside this campus. I think it's our new public safety director, I was going to mention his name later, John Triola, joined us late last fall. He's amazing, comes from a career in the FBI. He has great working relationships with, obviously, the police department and our own faculty and staff and our CUNY counterparts. So it's, it's upper in mind just to be smart about things, and I think you'll enjoy meeting him if you haven't already. What else have we done? Oh my goodness. Our internet, of course, the upgrade was really moved along, and now I don't even know what this means, but they're very proud of it. Apparently, our network and our network and ID controlled printing are running at 10 gigabytes per second rate. That's supposed to be really impressive. I don't know. I can barely get it on and off. It's fine. Also, as of this term, we have reached our goal. 100% of our instructional space is appropriate for smart technology to have it, which is really, that took a while. The dedicated team, the ACC, led by Mark, and B&G and IT, they really did a lot of work. We have added, what did we add? 13 over this last year, new smart rooms. We renovated, upgraded 18 older ones, and I think you'll find that we're kind of moving along in the modern world there. Nice, nice. We're also working our own B&G folks to create a third silent study room in the library. They already have 2, but we need another. It's very hard to study with, especially for commuter students. They need a place a little bit. And we're also adding a computer classroom for the library because so many of you have used the library as a resource, and I think that's great. And of course, our continued work on roofs everywhere. Here's to the architect that designed flat roofs in the Northeast. I think this is the 3rd time we've gone through roofing, but never to this extent, and it's a major project. It's a DASNY CUNY project. It is difficult, and it's going to be done soon. It is. We're also still working on the electrical upgrade, another thing. We were built, obviously, in 1959, 58, 59, so the demands for power weren't that great then, and now we need upgraded power, and that's what this project is doing, which is why you see trenches kind of all over the campus on top of the scaffolding, which is for the roof. But they tell me it's going to end soon. If nothing, that they don't have to listen to me anymore. Anyway, looking ahead, we have grown in our faculty, and it really is terrific. So right now we have 404 full-time faculty and 47 CLTs, and it's really a great blend of experience and fresh eyes and perspective. We also hired 4 faculty from searches this term. I don't know if they're here. You here, anybody? We had them here all day yesterday, so you'll meet them, I'm sure, at a number of events. But we also had 22 substitutes, and we're very happy, hello, substitutes, but we are doing searches. So you're going to be involved in a lot of searches, and we will have 22 more faculty from searches on the permanent staff within the next, this academic year. And let's see, we have lots of new HEO colleagues. We have 228 HEOs. I'm going to say something which I probably shouldn't mention parking, because parking is a tough, sensitive subject, seriously. We have 228 HEOs. A couple of years ago, we had half that number. HEOs, their work schedule is 35 hours a week. And one of the reasons why there seems to be increased pressure for parking is that more people are here morning, noon, and night. Now, faculty are here a lot, but the HEOs have to be here every day. And so that's part of what creates some difficulty and challenges, and I apologize for that. We are trying to make as many spaces as we can. I don't think we can make them any smaller, and we take this seriously. We're going to keep at it. As you know, B&G tends to park far away. We ask them to park far away and walk, and I'm not sure. I mean, we're probably in better shape than many other places that don't have anything at all, but I can appreciate frustration at trying to find something. But we do have wonderful HEOs. Don't blame them for the parking. I'm just pointing out that there are a lot of HEOs. So we have new ASAP advisors and new academic advisors. We have a new registrar, Pat Canali, who is coming to us from St. John's. We have a new director of admissions, Linda Evangelou, who's been great. She has only been here a few weeks and really done a great job already. We have a new ASAP director, Bobby retired, so Alexandra Payak is with us, and the aforementioned John Triolo, who's our director of public safety. So it's really a great group of people. I'm sure you'll get to meet them along the way. We also have our annual service celebration this fall, and we have folks who were here 20 years and 30 years and 40 years, and this year we have a 50-year honoree, Dick Euster from ET. And I hope you will join us. It is Thursday, October 19th. Everyone's invited. It's a wonderful evening, and we celebrate folks who've given us service, whether you're in an academic department or an administrative department or in buildings and grounds. It's wonderful to honor their service to us, and I think it speaks to our community and how great it is that people stay that long. 50 years is a long time. You must really be good. Now, this year's the 100th anniversary of New York State's giving women the right to vote. It is 100 years. It was still 3 more years before, I think, right? 3 more years? I have to ask the historian. Another year, 3 more years that nationally it went through, right? So this notion of women kind of stuck in my head. I don't know why. But women's journeys and women's accomplishments kind of may thread throughout some of the things we do, including our presidential lecture. We're very excited. Our presidential lecture will be President Carol Mason, the new president of John Jay. She was formerly the Assistant Attorney General of the United States. I have met her. Happened to be on the search committee. She is extraordinary. As you know, we have 4 programs with John Jay, but she has been a leader in the justice area. She oversaw the Department of Justice. She particularly focused on juvenile justice. And to listen to her and her passion, she was an attorney in the private sector, one of the very few women of color to ever make partner in a very large, nationally known law firm. I think you'll enjoy meeting her. I know our students will. She's kind of an inspiration, I think, for all of us. We have had great work done by our Faculty Diversity Advisory Committee, and they really did great work to advance cultural understanding and acceptance of varied social perspectives. And they also tried, I think, in effective ways to promote faculty unity, students, staff, and our community. We're very fortunate that these colleagues have stepped forward to lead this effort, and it's important. They really sponsored events and co-sponsored events to encourage conversations. Some of them may have been a little uncomfortable, some of them were celebratory, but I think it demonstrated their commitment that we can come together, and we do. I have to say their names because they have done such great work and they continue to do it. Trevor Milton and Carrie Ann Smith, Danny Sexton, Joe Pantaleo obviously is kind of their mother den mother. Meg Tarafdar, Nadu Kamona, Tony Monahan, Marvin Gale, Wendy Ford, Wilma Fletcher Anthony. I hope that as they reach out and they have co-sponsored with faculty groups and with students, I hope you consider joining their activities and joining the committee, frankly. If you have an interest, please do. I can't think of a time when it's been more important for that. Obviously, our middle states, I'm not going to say much because you're going to hear about it all year. We launched this year. Over 90 faculty have volunteered to serve. This is important service. Every single department's represented. And I thank you all for that. This is wonderful. It's our chance for self-reflection and to find out the things that we do them well, we need to do them better, what we should do. And so I thank you for all your work there. As you know, we have a strategic plan. It drives everything. It comes from your academic department reports, your administrative department reports. It makes it into the strategic plan as activities that we pledge to carry out, and that's what we fund. So it's very, very important. And our areas, we have 5 major areas: faculty and staff development, curriculum, the academies, college readiness, and technology. So, and I think we have strong financial support for all of these things. 76% of our budget goes for instruction and direct student support. Nobody else in CUNY has that percentage that's going to instruction and direct student support. But that's what we believe in. So I think it's very, very important, and I hope you will do that. Our enrollment, we're still registering students. Oh, this has been interesting. Queens College finally closed their admissions. I'm sorry to use jargon. Our competition is primarily Queens College. So now we were down a couple hundred freshmen last week, and we wondered where they were. Well, they were at Queens College because Queens College kind of wobbled on its standards. They need the numbers. Well, we want students, and everybody's still working very, very hard. We hope to make our targets. I think we will. I'm sure some of you who are watching your totals on your classes can see ups and downs, changes. There's some interesting things. The chemistry department noted a shift in enrollment from organic 1 and 2 to Chem 127. That's probably due to public health, health sciences, which is now our 3rd largest curriculum here. And I think it behooves all of us to take a look at the trends and kind of begin to align what we offer in terms of courses to enable the students to complete their progress in a timely way. Siedel, of course, remains very important as a resource. And again, they have assembled some wonderful faculty to lead in that direction. Kathleen Landy and Henry Davis and Carol in the office, plus Dennis Bahar, who is now part of Siedel officially. He leads our educational technology team, and they're there to support faculty. So I want to thank those who've done a lot of work on the high impact practices, and almost 300 faculty participated in high impact practices, and it led to 144 conference presentations and, I can't read my own writing, 60 papers, which is really wonderful, related to HIPS and pedagogy. I want to thank Stephen Dowkey, who's going to be working on academic service learning, Kiki Bias and Alicia Sercone working on collaborative assignments, SWIG, Jeff Jankowski and Elise Dembo, who are working on WI, Meg Tarafdar, who's doing global diversity and learning, and Dr. Robin Ford. Thank you, Robin, for her work on the Common Read, and Dr. Sharon Lal-Ram-Nareen, who did incredible work last year and will continue on undergraduate research. The Common Read this year is the story of Sotomayor. Staying with the women's theme, and many faculty have done that. Some of the faculty have also taken on a faculty common read, and again, that was led by our Diversity Advisory Committee, our faculty. So I hope you will look at that. I think almost 20 people have already expressed an interest in joining that discussion, read, so please do that. That's for you. What else? My goodness. Later this semester, we're going to call for nominations. OAA, Office of Academic Affairs, will call for nominations for our biannual award for faculty excellence in scholarship and creative activities. We do this every other year. This is the year. The committee will be composed of chair people from various disciplines and chaired by Dr. Lynch, and I hope you will do that. Think about that. Think about your colleagues who could be nominated. Those are the wonderful gallery of photos out here. That's our Faculty Excellence in Scholarship and Creative Activity group. We have lots of resources for faculty, and Tim Lynch will speak of it. I just want to mention one thing that probably is of paramount importance for those of us who do what you do, and that is support to present your findings, your research findings, to disseminate what you know, to share it with at different conferences, et cetera. We have over $225,000 worth of support. The PSC CUNY money is over $49,000. The QCC fund, our foundation, has contributed $30,000. And we have, through our tax levy budget, committed $145,000. Our faculty is very active in research. We want to support that. We're very proud of your work. We want it known throughout, and you have made it known throughout the country and beyond. So please do that. We're also continuing work on criteria for promotion, for fellowship leaves, et cetera. It's very important to faculty. It's our commitment that we give faculty the support and the guidance and the opportunity to advance professionally. I want to thank the department PMBs. We're going to be meeting next Tuesday because they've done a lot of work, I think, to clarify and communicate what the criteria are. In some cases, it's discipline specific, and they've done, I think, really honest work to go forward with that area. We're not perfect. We're getting better. Many, many people, our governance groups, everybody helped us to work with faculty on this. I think that's our commitment. We've invested heavily in quality faculty, and we are so proud, and we want everyone to succeed. So this year, 157 faculty will be voted on for reappointment, and including many for tenure, 23, I think, for tenure or CCE. It is a great faculty, and we're behind you all the way. What else? We're going to resurrect one other thing, and this is also part of the Diversity Committee's recommendation. They said it would be nice to have just a social, just relax and social event. Years ago, we did a social hour once a month, and it was just like a cup of coffee and a cookie or something, and people got to see each other, talk to each other. There was no program, nothing. And we're going to do that again. We're going to start doing it once a month. We're going to try different days, different times. When I talked with Joel, I realized people have other obligations after a certain point in the day to make sure they get home, and they have family obligations, et cetera. So we're going to try that. I think it's nice. As I say, it's just faculty and HEOs. If you want to come, stop over. We'll have it in Oakland. When's the first one? I think it's the first weekend in September. We'll send something out. So I really am proud to be here. I'm proud to be here with you. You know, you chose, as I meet faculty, as I hear faculty, they chose to work here because of our mission, because of our diversity, because of our innovative work in pedagogy. And I think that, and collaboration, most of all collaboration, I think it's really special. It's very hard what we do. It's very hard. There are easier ways, I think, to be in higher ed than to work at a community college with a heavy workload. And you do it, and you do it with grace and amazingly good things. You do touch lives, and you do make a difference. It sounds so trite, but oh my gosh, it's true. You know, at the end of this litany, and I am at the end of my litany of successes, I have to acknowledge that there are lots of challenges. Students face them, faculty face them, staff face them. It's really a result of this incredibly complex world that's sometimes very inhospitable. And, the last couple of weeks, I think, my gosh, you're going to stand up there and say these things and look at what's going on around us. It may seem hollow in the face of all these external events, and maybe they seem far away, but they're not. They're not. They're not, because I really do have a reluctant, very reluctant. People want me to put on the signs on the LIE, it says Exit 29 is Queensborough Community College. So they wanted me to put, the Kupferberg Holocaust Center. And I'm reluctant. I don't want someone to take advantage of an opportunity. And I'm thinking, why do I have to think that way? That's a terrible way to think. And just last week, we get strange phone calls coming to our office. You would not believe the phone calls we get, and the people who call us. But last week we had a really strange and uncomfortable phone call. Someone very, very angry, someone demanding to speak to me, demanding to know if we had a Muslim student organization. And it shook all of us, I think, a bit. We don't know all the details of what this person was after, but it's home. It's hitting home. And I say, but, is somebody going to save us? You know what? We have to do it ourselves. And there is no better community to do it than this one. So, on that note, I'm going to introduce Tim Lynch, who's our new VP for Academic Affairs. We're so happy he's here. He has been a faculty member and a chairman of a department and a union officer and a VP for Academic Affairs, so he's done this for a while. I'm very grateful he's here, and I'm going to give you a chance to meet him. Thank you. Have a great term.
Thank you, Dr. Call. If you just bear with me a moment while I bring up a brief PowerPoint. All right. Well, thanks, and welcome back. I'll try to keep my comments brief. I do want to pass along some good news and to remind everyone that we are on a very positive trajectory here at Queensborough Community College, and it's really all because of the contributions and leadership of faculty members such as yourselves and those of you who aren't here but are still responsible for the very positive things that we're seeing happening at Queensborough Community College. One of the most important factors that I want to speak about today is student success and the role that faculty members play in helping students achieve success here at Queensborough or really on any campus across America. And statistics have shown and studies have verified that the number one factor that leads to student success, that has an impact on student retention, is the fact that a student feels as if there is somebody with whom they can connect. That there's somebody on the campus. It might be an admissions officer, it might be a public safety officer, but most often it's a faculty member. It's someone with whom they can connect that they feel has a vested interest in their success. And I have seen in a very short period of time that the faculty members and the staff persons at Queensborough Community College take that seriously. They are absolutely 100% committed to supporting student success in a lot of different ways, and the results are telling. And I'll provide some data in just a few moments. We have a lot of good things that are happening here at Queensborough. The president touched on probably all of them in her comments this morning, but I want to reiterate some of the other some of her points. We have worked within academic affairs to introduce some efficiencies and some rationality to the office. Your department chairpersons can share with you some of the reorganization of functions within the Office of Academic Affairs, but all of these were done to support faculty and to provide resources and assistance to faculty, whether they are engaged in scholarly pursuits, whether they might have issues in the classroom that can be addressed through Office of Educational Technology and a Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning. So please utilize the Office of Academic Affairs as the resource that we see ourselves for faculty and for, by extension, for student success. So those are just some preliminary remarks. What I really want to speak about today is faculty engagement and the work that faculty members have done and can continue to do to promote student success. And one of the ways I think that we can more finely focus is by looking at enrollment management. And for many people, enrollment management is someone else's job. It belongs to the admissions department, it belongs to advising, it belongs to all of us, actually. Whether you are in the Office of Admissions or an advisor or a faculty member, enrollment management really is something that all of us can contribute to and something that all of us do. Enrollment management speaks to recruitment, it speaks to admissions, it speaks to registration, it speaks to advisement, it speaks to matriculation, it speaks to graduation. And if you look at some of our metrics, which we will in a few moments, we're doing very well. Our graduation rate is up, our retention rate is up, our enrollment numbers are strong. By comparison, my wife, who is a community college instructor in the Connecticut system, she went back to work today, and their freshman numbers, their first-time, full-time freshman enrollment is down 26%. That's stark. That is scary. We are not looking at that. We are not seeing that here at Queensborough. We're stable, we're strong, and I think that we can become even better when we're providing some of the services that we are for students. So there's a lot of good things happening, and faculty are responsible for much of it, but faculty are also needed to maintain this positive momentum and keep us on our positive trajectory. So what we're really about is promoting student success from the recruitment stage, pre-college programs, all the way through graduation. It's not just about admissions advising. It's about taking ownership of the situation, making connections with students who need that support network, and getting them through the I don't want to say pipeline, but getting them through the pipeline. So we'll look at some of the metrics. Retention rates, which are increasing. They're moving in the right direction. Credit accumulation, it's a big initiative right now, 15 to finish. Right? We want to encourage more students to take as many credits as they can reasonably accommodate in a particular semester to speed their time through the college process. We want to reduce the number of credits that students are taking which are not directly applicable to their degree. We're we're really changing the culture. For many years, full-time students or full-time status was 12 credits. And that's what it is for financial aid purposes. But now we're encouraging students to take 15 credits per semester so that they can speed their matriculation through college, so that they can perhaps be eligible for programs such as the Excelsior Scholarship. This is a concerted effort by the university, and it's across higher education. We are increasing not just our retention rates, but our graduation rates, our degree completion rates. The president mentioned reverse transfer. We are a transfer institution. 76% of those students who earn an associate's degree from Queensborough transfer to a baccalaureate granting institution. That's astoundingly high, okay? And it's because of the good work that the faculty and the enrollment management teams are doing. Okay, so why does this matter? Why do we care about graduation rates and retention rates? Well, it's because they are important to a lot of stakeholders. Students and parents care. Right? The more time you spend in college, the more money it costs, the more financial aid is being utilized, the more time you spend in college, the less time you spend in the workforce earning money. So these metrics are important to students, they're important to parents, CUNY notices. It's one of the metrics on which we are judged, essentially, and we're doing well. We are at or above the community college sector rates for most of these metrics. There are challenges, to be sure, but we have solutions in place, and I think we're doing really well. The federal government has a vested interest, right? They want to make sure that students are not graduating with massive amounts of debt, right? For many years, the federal government focused on predatory lenders and for-profit institutions. I think the next target of their attention will be community colleges and baccalaureate institutions to make sure that we are not graduating students or selling students a bad bill of goods and saddling them with unmanageable debt. So it's important that we provide truth in advertising, and it's important that we provide services to our students. But most importantly, it matters to our campus. Student success, getting students through our courses, getting students to transfer to other institutions is an absolutely core and fundamental feature of our strategic plan. If it's not about student success, what is it about? It's certainly not about the bottom line. It's certainly not about just doing our job. It's about doing our job well for the furtherance of the students. So, retention initiatives. Everyone's involved. It's not just the Office of Admissions or the Office of Advising, and the results are impressive. First-time, full-time, fall 16 freshmen, that's those who entered last year, we're at about 67%. 2/3 of those students who started last year have come back for a second year. This time last year, we were at about 61, 62%. So we've seen a 5% increase in our retention rates year over year. That's pretty impressive. And we are approaching where we had been with our retention rates prior to some changes that we'd made in our academic dismissal policy a few years back. We're seeing not just increases in our retention rates, but increases in our levels of student engagement. So you look at student satisfaction surveys, for example, and we're doing better than we had previously. We're looking at our persistence rates, which is retention plus graduation. We're looking at our graduation rates. All of these metrics are moving in the right direction. I already mentioned our impressive transfer rates, academic momentum and credit accumulation. We have more and more students, percentage and head count, that are taking full-time loads, that are taking above full-time loads, 15 credits or more, than we have seen in some time. They're not doing this on their own volition. They're doing it because they are motivated to succeed by the advice that they're receiving from various offices on campus, including the faculty. While these are impressive statistics, we also want to keep moving in this direction, right? We want to improve upon this. And how have we done this, and how can we do this? I know pathways is a loaded term for some of you in the room and within CUNY, but we're building guided pathways. We're hoping to build a roadmap for student success, one that's based on rationality, proper course sequencing, intentionality of course offerings, so that students aren't hitting roadblocks. Right? We want to remove obstacles to student success. We want to make everything about college easy except the coursework. Right? We want to keep the rigor where it belongs, which is in the classroom. But we don't want to make registration difficult. We don't want to make advising onerous. We don't want to make coming to school a chore for our students. We want to introduce a process that is built around student success, and the way to achieve student success is to minimize obstacles and to improve access for all sorts of things. So, student-centered onboarding, that sounds a bit intimidating, but really what it means is when you are advising students and when you're planning a degree program and when you're putting a curriculum map on the web for public consumption, we're making sure that this just makes sense, that it's easy to understand, it's easy to navigate. It's something that is based not on the way it's always been done, but really best practices and the way it should be done. So we're looking very closely at course sequencing. We're looking to see where those bottleneck courses might be and how can we better deliver course content, particularly in mathematics. So we're looking at how we are delivering our math courses. We're introducing a whole sequence of courses through open educational resources. Congratulations to the math department and Dr. Bertarelli and Dr. Franco for their leadership of an impressive CUNY-wide grant that we received to revise our math curriculum in the way that we're delivering courses from remedial through calculus. We're also looking at the way we deliver remedial courses, right? Extending the instructional periods, introducing ALP. We do this in both English, we do it in math, because we have a lot of our students, 60% or so, who are placed into math remediation. Okay? And we're providing a support network so that we can get students into credit-bearing courses and through the curriculum as expeditiously as possible. Okay? One way that we can certainly maximize student success is through proactive or intrusive advising. And this isn't just the role of the advising department, but it's really faculty members who see students several times a week and who can gauge pretty quickly where they are in the knowledge stream and what, pardon me, and what services they might benefit from. And the tool that we are asking you to use, and which many of you already use, is Starfish. Okay? So you can send out alerts to students at various points in the semester and say, fantastic, I really am impressed with the work that you're doing. Keep up the good work. Those positive reinforcements have been shown to really have a dramatic impact on student success and persistence rates. Also, if you need to maybe give a student a kick in the pants and say, I'm really concerned with your level of commitment to this course. You haven't shown up in a couple of sessions, you're not turning in the homework, you really would benefit perhaps from visiting the Writing Center or the Campus Learning Center. Starfish is a great way to do that because it goes not just to the student but to their advisor as well for follow-up. And we know that students who, as I'll show you, students who are targeted for these sort of interventions, take them seriously, act upon them, and you see positive results. Okay. We know that Starfish and these intrusive advising mechanisms work. It's easy to track, easy to use. They're utilized by most faculty. I'll not go through stage by stage how to access Starfish, how to implement it. Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning, faculty fellow Dr. Andrea Salas are at your disposal for how to implement this in your courses. I used it as a faculty member not long ago. It's not onerous, it's not a burden, it's a great tool, great resource, and I would encourage you to do that. And we know that students whose instructors use Starfish show marked improvement in their academics. Not they go from a D- to a D or something like that, but marked improvement. The number of faculty who are utilizing Starfish has increased over the last couple of years. So we've got, in some cases, 80% of faculty who teach remedial courses are utilizing Starfish, and campus-wide, 60%, more than 60% of faculty are utilizing Starfish. Thank you. I want to say that first. Thank you, because it's not mandated. Right? It's not required, but it is strongly encouraged, and the results are impressive. They speak for themselves. So thank you for taking the time to reach out to students and provide them with another opportunity to take ownership of their own education. We also know that the number of students who are referred and attend tutoring is greater for those who are sent there via Starfish intervention, for lack of a better term, right? Almost twice as much in some cases. Well, more than twice as much in many cases. So students who are referred to tutor. So oftentimes students won't take the initiative. They're embarrassed, they're unaware of resources, they're stressed. However, if they are prompted by an instructor who says, gee, listen, I think you'd really benefit from A, B, and C, then students will feel less reticent to take advantage of the resources that we're providing to them. You should take a tour through the basement of the library where the Writing Center is located, where the campus learning centers are located. It's impressive. We spend a lot of money. We've made a lot of investments, and the place is hopping. You go by just about any time of the day. There's advisors who are there. There are tutors who are available. It's a welcoming environment, and it's one that I think our students are taking obviously more and more advantage of. And I'll close with this, I think, most impressive statistic. It's that students who have been referred to tutoring and who attend tutoring do markedly better. 1.6 is nothing to write home about, right? You're on probation at best. You're failing. It's a D plus average, maybe. 212, maybe not something to write home about either, but you're not on probation. You're passing your courses. You're matriculating through the curriculum. You are making progress towards your degree. You're not wasting time, money, or financial aid on repeating courses. You are getting through the pipeline in a, I wouldn't say expeditious or lightning fast manner, but you're making progress. So I want to thank you again for utilizing Starfish. I want to encourage you to continue to use this intervention. I want to ask you to continue making a difference in your students' lives by making connections with them. And I want to ask those of you who haven't yet utilized this intervention to strongly consider doing so. And the Office of Academic Affairs, whether it's with Starfish or in any other issue that you may have, is at your disposal. I have a fantastic group of colleagues that work on the 5th floor in the administration building in academic affairs and in the library in some cases. And we're here to help. And I hope that you take advantage of those opportunities and those resources. Okay. So thank you all. Good luck this semester, and welcome back. At this, whoa, hold on a second. That was just my conclusion. At this time, I would like to share with you an example of faculty engagement, not about starfish or starship, whatever I just spoke about, not about starfish, but rather about faculty engagement across the disciplines. One of the great things that I have enjoyed about my relatively short time here at Queensborough is that I am working closely with colleagues in other divisions. Michelle Hodge in Student Affairs, Steve Nadio, Marketing, Communications, Denise Ward, Pre-College Programs. And that ability to work across divisions and not be stuck in a silo is a hallmark of some of the research that's being done by faculty members in our institution. This morning, I'd like to introduce a pair of faculty members who are interested in interdisciplinary approaches to student-focused research for a presentation about which they will speak, and which I don't want to trip over my tongue trying to explain. But Larissa Honey from Social Sciences and Sara Danzi-Engoron from Biology are going to present on mitochondrial DNA, RNA, DNA. Mitochondrial. How's that? Thank you.
So, good morning. Thank you to those of you who are staying. Before we get started, I'd also like to thank President Call for inviting us here to speak today. I'm Larissa Honey from the Department of Social Sciences, and my collaborator here is Sara Danzi-Engoron from Biological Sciences and Geology. And we are super excited to be here. We love this project. We have been working together on this for 4 years. And I can say without any doubt that this project is the most rewarding and enjoyable classroom activity that I have been involved with ever in my teaching experience. So what exactly do? We do what's called the Mitochondrial Lab module. And this is at one level, at the basic level, it is a teaching and learning experience. It's a semester-long project that it gets students involved and integrates the biological and laboratory sciences into my cultural anthropology classroom. Sara is going to go through and tell you a little bit more detail in a moment about what she does in my classroom. But we see it as also something broader than that. At the broader level, we see our project as a microcosm of the possibilities, the learning possibilities that we have, that here at Queensborough we are afforded as teachers. And I'm getting a little emotional here, but as an anthropologist, Queensborough is really a dream. It's a dream. We have people from students and faculty from all around the world, and we have small classes. So we can really take anthropological ideas and practices and put them into action. We can experience them right here in our rooms. We have textbooks, but we can learn from each other right in our classrooms. And so we see our project as creating an atmosphere, creating the environments for allowing and developing these kinds of learning possibilities. Some of these qualities, some of the qualities that we have put in that we think make our project exciting are qualities that can be integrated into any classroom here in Queensborough. The first one would be collaboration. And this is briefly, this is a collaborative project with faculty, but we also have our students collaborating together and learning from one another. The second idea that is really integral is this notion of personalized learning. This is really important. It's key to our project's success. The students become engaged. They feel connected and meaningful. They feel the project is meaningful, and this inspires them to learn. This inspires them to actually go out and learn outside the classroom. And this makes our lives a lot easier as educators when our students are self-inspired by this personal interest. We also see our project as fostering cross-cultural understanding. Our project, during the course of the project, we have students come together, they talk, they share, and they tell their stories. And our students have amazing stories. Amazing stories. These are amazing people. I read through their life stories every semester, and sometimes I cry. It's very touching. And some of these students, they come to our classrooms. They speak 3-4 languages. I think I'm teaching anthropology. They already speak 3-4 languages. It's amazing. They've traveled thousands of miles, some of them thousands of miles to get here. But all of them, each and every one of our students, they need to be heard. They want to connect. They want to connect with each other. They want to connect with the world. And so our project at this broader level, what we try to do is to bring students together to learn from each other so that they can learn to appreciate diversity. Diversity, genetic diversity, and cultural diversity together. One of the concepts, one of the topics that is a fundamental part of any introductory to anthropology course is the notion of race as a cultural construct. And students sometimes they struggle with the idea that race is cultural rather than biological. They look around them and they see race, they experience race in their everyday lives. Race is something that is institutionalized in our legal system. It is embedded in our language. Students come to class with their lifetime of experiences and their own assumptions about what race is. And in many cases, these are essentialized assumptions that there are real biological differences, that there are biological racial types. And a lot of these essentialist types of assumptions can be quite dangerous, as they can be used to justify. They have been and they continue to be used to justify inequalities and oppressions. So one of the big fundamental lessons that we have in our class is to demonstrate the science, to demonstrate the underlying science that shows that race is not a biologically valid kind of concept. On the other hand, we have this issue of racism. So we see race is not biologically valid, but obviously racism exists. So this is a tension that we have, and it's a struggle that we have to deal with to try to convey these ideas, these complicated and seemingly contradictory ideas to our students. And so our project tries to look at both sides, bringing the balance. We have the mitochondrial DNA project, looking at the underlying genetics. And then on my side of the project, we do a series of ethnographic types of exercises. So as a cultural anthropologist, I want students to get to know each other. I used to have students go off and learn other parts of New York City, but we have our own ecosystem right here, and we can learn from each other. And it really, I think, goes well as we're learning about each other genetically to learn about each other as individuals. So students, they write about each other, they interview each other, and they get to know each other on a deeper level. I want to tell you a little bit about how we came upon this idea in the first place. And it is all about collaboration. This was something that just came about very serendipitously. I have a dry mouth and I don't have any water. Thank you. Sarah and I met at the orientation first time for college when we first got here teaching. We kept up our friendship, and over a lunch one afternoon, we were talking about classes, and I started talking about this issue of race and racism, and I told her about a DNA project that I had seen in a video. This is a video that I sometimes show my students when we're talking about race, called Race, the Power of an Illusion. And it looks at the social aspects and it looks at the genetics behind race. And in this video, students went to Cold Spring Harbor's lab and they conducted a mitochondrial DNA lab. They looked at they examined their DNA and they compared their DNA. At the beginning of the lab, they went in with the same assumptions that most people have. They thought that their DNA matches were going to be with those people who looked most similar to them. They thought that they were going to be those people who they connected with and saw as identified as part of their race or ethnicity. And as they went through the lab, as they saw the science, they got the results back, they found that in many cases this was not at all the case. For my own students, as we're watching this, we will at this point have read, we will have read about the history of race as a concept. We will have read about the social implications and inequalities and structural racism. They will even sometimes write that race is a social construct, but they still don't fully believe it. And when it comes, finally, what I found watching this video, it was finally, this was their first aha moment, where it started to sink in that, okay, maybe there is something to this science. Maybe race is not biologically real. Maybe. But there was always something, there were always a few students who said, well, those are just 4 or 5 people. They probably picked those people. They probably picked people who they knew ahead of time were going to be biologically different. It's a setup. So I always wished that I had, and I told Sarah, I said, I wish I could take all my students over to the lab. It's not that far. Wish we could do that. And she looked at me and said, I'm an expert in mitochondrial DNA. Let's do the lab here. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And it didn't just happen overnight. This was something that took some time. It took planning, and it started out small. But that was the beginning of our project, and it's been pretty darn amazing. And now all of my introductory classes have this opportunity because of Sara and her knowledge and her devotion. She spends a lot of time and energy, and she comes to my classes and she really shows them. She really teaches them. She really connects with my students. And I think that it's, what I found is, as much as I begrudgingly say this as a cultural anthropologist, one of the things, the science is really important to them. Not that I'm against science, but the science is what convinces them in the end. They read the literature, they read about the social issues, but the science compels them. In the end, though, coming back to cultural anthropology and the connections that we need, it's really the personalized lessons. Once we had the opportunity to start doing the project with my students, and Sarah's going to go over this in a second, again, they still were not always convinced. They could read, they knew, and we'd come, these are some of the comments, I would have them. What they did in the video and what we do in my class is I have my students pick who they think are going to be the top 5 closest matches. They match up with each other. We do a match with each other, and we do a match with others, a global database from around the world. They always, you can see from their comments here, they always think it's going to be people who look like them. It's going to be people who are similar to them. It's only when they get their results back, only when they finally see in themselves that, wow, I am similar to that person, sometimes 100% similar to someone on the other side of the world. I am similar to numbers of people in my own classroom. And that's when it finally sinks in. And that's when they start to appreciate the connections that they have with other people in the world and the diversity that they can see amongst themselves in the classroom. So I'm going to turn things over to Sara, and she's going to tell you all about what exactly it is we do and the science behind this that convinces my students to transform their thinking.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, she'll be back for 2 slides. So I would not say that I'm an expert in mitochondrial DNA, but I am a molecular biologist, and I do know a bit about mitochondrial DNA. So it was doable. We have to start this story with human evolution. So humans evolved. We can trace our ancestry back about 200,000 years to Africa. About 60 to 70,000 years ago, humans began to migrate out of Africa and then populated the rest of the globe. However, before that last migration, Because of stresses in the environment, the number of humans, modern humans, was reduced to about 10,000 individuals. That's near extinction. Just to keep it in perspective, we have maybe 15,000, 16,000 students at Queensborough Community College. We are all descendants of those 10,000 individuals. So we can use our DNA to trace our ancestry back to those places where our ancestors migrated to thousands of years ago. Over the 7 semesters that we've been working on this, we have modified and tweaked the protocol. The protocol was developed by Cold Spring Harbor DNA Learning Center, and it is available as a kit from Carolina Biological. And we do buy the kit, but we've modified the protocol so that it works for us. And students will, in this lab session, students will isolate their own cheek cells, right, inside the mouth using a saline rinse, and then they extract the DNA from those cells. That's followed up by what we call PCR, polymerase chain reaction, which will allow us to target and amplify only that short region of the mitochondrial DNA that we're interested in. Then, after the PCR, I package up the DNA in a FedEx envelope and send it off to GeneWiz in New Jersey, and they sequence the DNA for us. And it's a wonderful system. We have a reduced cost because of our affiliation with Cold Spring Harbor, and we get results back within a few days. Then begins the analyzing of that DNA. In the meantime, the students' experience, they've learned to use pipetters, they've learned to use a centrifuge, they know about very small, tiny metric measurements of volume. They're using microliter amounts and other fun stuff of biology, because molecular biology is truly a lot of fun. So through our funding, we've had some PSC CUNY grants, we had a Siedel grant, and from support from the college, thank you, President Call, and both of our chairs, Dr. Gadura and Dr. Culkin, have really supported this project when we were between grants. But the Siedel funding allowed us to create this mobile DNA cart. So now we can bring the tools of molecular biology to the classroom. Here you can see one of our biology student interns is working with students in an anthropology class because she knows how to do this procedure very well. And we had a couple of student interns working with us. Initially, when we started this project, I had to bring 4 or 5 students at a time into the laboratory. Each session was about an hour, and we had to do that because of the number of students in the class. We had to do that 5 or 6 times each semester. So we were really limited in time. We could only do 1 class a semester. So to put it in perspective, the first 5 semesters that we worked on this project, we covered, that was about 120 students. And it took about 30 hours of in-class, lab time with the students. Now, in the last 2 semesters, we did 7 classes, 150 students, and it cost me 7 classroom hours versus 30 hours for more students. So the ability to do the whole class at once, plus they're in class, so they're available. Otherwise, it was out of class time. So even if you scheduled 5 or 6 times that they could come to the lab, somebody was absent, somebody was sick, and you don't want anybody to miss out, so then it's another hour and another hour. So the time commitment became a little onerous. So what about that DNA? Our DNA is actually closer to 99.9% identical, right? We all descended from this small group of humans a very short time ago. Evolutionarily speaking, this is a very short time ago. So if we want to compare our genetic differences, it's easier to use a small molecule in our cells called mitochondrial DNA because we will have more variation there. Those are the letters of the genetic code, if you're not familiar. All life on Earth is simply a recombination of A's, G's, C's, and T's, whether it's mitochondrial DNA or it's your nuclear DNA. So mitochondrial DNA is a small circular DNA molecule, and it's found within an organelle, surprisingly called the mitochondrion, or the powerhouse of the cell, and it's in the cytoplasm, not in the nucleus, where what you think of as your genes, they're in the nucleus of the cell. Mitochondrial DNA offers several advantages. While there are 2 copies of all of your nuclear genes per cell, there can be hundreds or thousands of mitochondria per cell with multiple copies of the mitochondrial genome, chromosome, within each of those mitochondria. So there's a lot more mitochondria or mitochondrial DNA to work with. 2, considering that we're 99.9% identical, it's really a benefit that mitochondrial DNA, for various reasons, mutates or changes about 5 to 10 times faster than nuclear DNA does. That gives us more variation. Another benefit is that mitochondrial DNA is not subject to recombination that occurs in every generation among our nuclear genes. So it remains intact generation after generation after generation, and that allows us to sort of trace our ancestry and gives us what we call a kind of molecular clock to work with. So I just want to emphasize, if we are 99.9% identical, and that means we have about 0.1% differences between any 2 individuals. This is 3,000 nucleotides. So we can take any 2 of us in this room and compare our DNA. We would expect to find, on average, for 3,000 nucleotides, about 3 differences. So it's very difficult to say anything about comparing our genetics without scanning the entire genome. So mitochondrial DNA is a very useful tool, and it's commonly used for ancestry. The only drawback is that mitochondrial DNA is only inherited from your mom. So it only gives us a look at our maternal ancestry. It doesn't mean that you don't have lots of other relatives out there, but it is a way to look at our maternal ancestry. And while through the years, thousands of years that humans have been migrating around the Earth, there are dead ends for mitochondrial DNA, right? I got my mitochondrial DNA from my mom, who's an only daughter. I'm an only daughter, and I have all sons. It's the end of the line for my mitochondrial DNA. But every one of us has a mom, who had a mom, who had a mom, who had a mom. And so for everyone alive today, we can trace our ancestry back to that mom a very long time ago. So what can we learn from our mitochondrial DNA sequences? Well, we can learn about the origins of our maternal ancestors that date back thousands of years. That will give us a place on Earth and a time in history. It also gives us something called a haplogroup. And I'm not going to talk, there are a lot of things we do that we can't talk about today. There's not enough time. But students do get assigned their haplogroups, which places them with a sort of an ancestral group or clan in history. They also, we learn that we cannot predict our closest mitochondrial DNA match from our physical characteristics, because usually students make predictions, as Larissa described, and they're not often not very accurate. So students learn, obviously, they learn that race is a social construct and that it's not genetically based. And that means that there's no set of genes that defines a race. So they hear that, and as Larissa described, they still believe that the physical characteristics, the things that you see, will predict genetic similarities. But the truth is that the few genes that are responsible for those physical characteristics are relatively insignificant when we look at the diversity between us, and they are not linked to any other genes. They're not linked to intelligence, they're not linked to musical ability, they're not linked to our temperament. They're not a set of genes that are linked in any way with those minor, really minor genes that encode our physical traits, the few traits that we see on the outside. So our goal really was to make it personal, as Larissa described, and if we make it personal, any learning that's personal, students get motivated to know about, to learn more about, to be involved in. So this is an alignment. This is from one class. I believe it was our first class of students 7 semesters ago. And if you look at this, sure you can't read the letters, it doesn't really matter. This is an alignment of 20 some odd students from a class, and it's just a short region of the mitochondrial DNA that we sequence and look at, which in total is only about 450 nucleotides. This is maybe 130 of those nucleotides. You'd have a hard time looking for the differences, right? Where are the letter differences? Well, you'd have to look very carefully. So we can show it like this, and we can show it to the students like this. If we look at the sequence of student 1, which is all the way across the top, everywhere there's no change, there's simply a dot, and the only differences are those letters that are shown separately. So even though we're looking at a region of DNA that mutates 5 to 10 times faster than nuclear DNA, there are few differences between us. But what can we do with those differences? There are different ways to analyze them, and we do them both ways. And we can count the number of differences between 2 individuals, and that's one measure. Maybe there are 4 differences, 2 differences, 5 differences, no differences. And the other thing is that those individual letter changes, they happened in one person at one time in history. And everybody that has that letter change shares that ancestor. So that's a little bit mind-boggling. So if 2 students have, it's easier for me to look at the computer, if 2 students have a T, see sort of in the middle, there's a T in the center, and only 2 students in the class have that T instead of the C that everybody else seems to have, well, they would have gotten that from the same ancestor, but we are talking about thousands of years ago. So the mitochondrial DNA allows us really to trace the migration of single random DNA changes that happen, that have no consequence, except that they stick around for thousands of years and spread out around the world, and that allows us to look at and to use this molecular clock to figure out a time and place in history where it initially arose. So here's a sequence alignment between 2 individuals. This happens to be between Larissa. We always include ourselves in all of the analyses. So this is between Larissa and one of the students in the class who happened to be from China, and you can count, of course, only the differences are shown, and they're highlighted here in red. So this is one of the things that students will get, a readout of their sequence compared to other students in the class and to people from what we have access to, which is a public database. So this is a comparison between one student in the class who happens to be from Trinidad and Tobago with a random person from the data bank who's from Saudi Arabia. And so the student will see this, and that for this region that we are able to sequence, this approximately 450 nucleotide segment, these two people share 100% sequence identity. That would wind up putting them likely in the same haplogroup and the same ancestral origins. But of course, we're always looking back thousands of years. You might know that your family came from Italy, but how did they get to Italy, right? So we're talking about a very long time ago. So that's essentially some of the results that the students get from their DNA sequences. What do the students think of it? And how can we assess what the students are learning, and certainly learning about their perspective on race? And this is now a pedagogical study, and we do have data about the impact that it has on students and their perceptions of race, but in the interest of time, we didn't bring the data, which we have talked about before. And I'm going to turn it back over to Larissa for just the final few slides so she can summarize that for you. Thanks.
So thanks to our Siedel grant, we have been able to spend some time analyzing, and we have done this in a number of different ways. We have a Likert test that we give to the students before the class on their impressions about race and their knowledge of biology and race. Where's there?
Yeah, you can just go to.
And we also, so we do the before and after, which is a knowledge test and an opinion test, as looking at their ideas about race. And then we have been looking at doing a qualitative assessment, looking at their essays. I have them writing blogs throughout, and at the end they write a final reflection. We've been using a Deduce, which is the software that looks at the essays, at the qualitative essays, and this is sort of, they came up with this cloud of some of the most common and most frequent ideas and concepts that are covered. If you look at here, you can see the biggest words are the ones that come up more often. I think feel more connected to others is the main one, and that's very significant. There are also views on race and genetic diversity have changed, which again, as we've seen, the students were very resistant to those changes. They held on to their assumptions and their misconceptions very tightly until the very end, but they did change in many cases. They had a greater interest in learning about others and understanding others, feeling more compassionate towards others, and these are very big, I would say, accomplishments that we are very excited about. I want to give you just a few examples of some of the kinds of reflections that the students offer. Every semester, I get to, and I try to share as many as I can with Sara because they are so incredible. The students over and over again tell me that the DNA project was their favorite, one of their favorite things. Sometimes they say it was their favorite thing in college ever. So I'm very, very thankful to be able to introduce this to my students. They end the class feeling different, I think, about themselves and about the world. And this is a very important lesson, I think, for us as educators, is that we can learn. We can learn to understand. We can learn to understand each other. We can learn to appreciate the differences in one another. We can, as the anthropologist who I quoted earlier, I had the quote up there, we can make spaces. We can create a world that is welcoming, of human differences. And I think that is the main lesson here. But it requires us to connect, right? It means that we need to reach out, whether it's reaching out in collaboration, reaching out and listening to our students, reaching out to one another. When we do that, amazing things can happen. We have amazing people here to learn from, and I hope that you take that and go out and learn about each other right now. Okay, thank you. And there are a number of people who we'd like to thank for this. It definitely would not have been able to happen without the support of Dr. Cull and our chair people, Dr. Culkin. I don't know if he's here still. Oh, there you are, okay. And Dr. Gadora, and the grants that we had to make it possible, because this isn't it's not a cheap project. It does require.
You're amazing. I wish each and every one of you a wonderful semester and year. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Larissa, and all of my colleagues who are here today. And enjoy peace. Yeah. Take care.